From Senegal to Sugar Hill, trace the bloodline. 100 years of brilliance through the color line. They thought the shackles broke but kept the mental chain. Langston penned the future while they legislated pain. Harlem's ballrooms birthed the cosmos in mahogany, while lynching trees still decorated southern botany. Josephine, Waker's pearls, and Garvey's Navy ships. Du Bois debating destiny with scholarship on his lips. The Renaissance was a renaissance of West resistance, fam. Every trumpet blast from Armstrong was a battering ram. They gave us minstrel shows, we gave them Sora Neal. Turned depression into art, made the fabricated real. Cotton Club excluded us from tables that we set. To form the Deanest Nightly, never free from the debt. But Bessie Smith could shatter glass, shatter cash, shatter lies. Every note she sang contained a revolution in the sky. Build temples from the rubble, make cathedrals from the struggle. Turn the margins to the center, now they study what we scribble. We build temples from the rubble, every generation double the inheritance of genius that they try to keep us from. Fast forward through the decades, watch the pattern reassemble. Malcolm's speeches, Martin's marches, every voice begins to tremble to the earth until the structure shows its fractures. FBI was tracking every coon with every pastor, every actor. 40 acres never came but 40 minutes on a stage. Can reconvene your consciousness and channelize the rage. From bebop to hip-hop, the fool lines mathematical. Each generation weaponized the beautiful, the radical. They gave us Reagan out as crack and mass incarceration. We gave them Public Enemy and blueprints for liberation. The Harlem Renaissance never ended, just evolved its form. Every freestyle cipher is a brainstorm, is a storm. Where the children of the talented, the tent that the boys prophesied, inherit the fire that the water couldn't wash aside. They tried to write us out the narrative. We offered all on text, 100 years of proof, and that we're destined where was next. Temples from the rubble, make cathedrals from the struggle. Turn the largest to the center, now they study what we scribble. We built temples from the rubble, every generation double the inheritance of genius that they tried to keep us from.
All right, now this is You Are Under the Groove. Welcome everybody to Under the Groove podcast. Let's get it in. Let's get it in. I've had a quiet day, kind of restful. I needed it, man. Been pushing myself, running on fumes, as the saying goes. I know I appreciated the little rest I got today, but I know my wife did as well. She always tells me I'm rugged, I'm running myself rugged. I don't know how true that is, but hey, here I am. I feel kind of rejuvenated. It's all good. It's all good, man. All right, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. I see you up in here, B60. Peace and prosperity to you and yours, bro. Good to see you front and center. All right. How was your day? What have you done today, man, to make it worth the while? I think that's the phrase nowadays. Not how you doing or how's your day, no. What have you done to make this day worth the while? Coming to the end of it, but there's still time, y'all. Still time to make it look damn good. Bring some type of improvement to it. Nothing wrong with that. Trust. Ain't nothing wrong with improving on your day or yourself or anything that matters to you. Something we got to get into for real, for real. Yep. Like I say, my day started, man, like it always does, man. Grand rising. Get it in, get up, get it in, do what I need to do. Shoot. Man, 3 o'clock, man, needed a little nap, man. Wasn't much, but hey, it was enough. It was enough. Hopefully, it shows, man. Okay. Yeah, man. Hopefully it was enough, man. Put a little more juice in my system. Like I was running on fumes, man. Shoot. It'd be like that. It'd be like that. All right. Come on up in here, y'all. Let's let it do what it do. I'm sitting up looking at the news, man. That's what I tend to do. I keep my nose in the news, see what the hell this Donald Trump is up to. Okay. Oh, that's the loved one. All right. All right, man. Yeah. Come on up in here, y'all. All right, nephew. Looking good. Graduating. Oh, one of my baby nephews, though. Young scholar on his way. Yeah. Hey, all right now, Queen Nzinga, James. Everything is everything with me, brother James. What about yourself, man? You know, what's going on significant in your day? Good to see you up in here, bro. You know, I know you one of them brothers, you stay trying to do something. Ain't nothing wrong with that. That should go for all of us. Stay trying to do something. You and brother B60, man, y'all stay trying to do something. Building, you know, trying to lay down a foundation, man. Stabilize you, you know. Queen and Zinga said, peace and blessings to the kings and queens and the Royal Group congregation. Happy hump day. Oh, yeah, today is Wednesday, huh? All right, man. Today, where these days go? It's like the older you get or the older you become, the shorter days get, you know? It's like the days are shortened. That's something, man. Again, it's nowadays, you know, as you grow, man, there's not enough time in the day. As children, man, the day just seemed like it wouldn't end, you know, just man, forever, you know, ripping and running all day. Uh-huh. As a kid, man, that's how it was. Rip and run, play all day. Go in the house, man, be the man, dead to the world, fall out like a sack of rocks, man, just out, boom. You know. Next thing you know, mama waking you up, telling my boy, get up, time for school. Like, what? Yeah, that's what it is, man. Yep. Was going over some old stuff today, looking at a lot of old episodes and videos I had dropped in the past. You know, reading the comments and stuff, actually, you know, I have a tendency to go back and read my comments and do my best to answer all, you know, all of them, you know what I mean? But I read all the comments. There's so many, um, just based on the variety of videos, you know what I mean, that we done under the groove. There's so many comments. You go in there like, dang, man, I swear I just answered all this stuff last week, and then boom, here go, you know, hundreds more comments, you know, like, oh, that's work. But again, you know, it's something I enjoy doing. I love reading the comments and give you an idea, in terms of, you know, what you're doing and what the people's response is towards or in regards to what you're doing. So I love it, man, nonetheless. I love it. All right, Ben. Ben. V7M say no cell phones, nothing but friends, kin folks, and running all day. I'm gonna tell you though, we were talking about cell phones yesterday. I tend to think that the less we're in our cell phones, it seems like, you know, the more there's more time in the day. You know what I mean? There's a lot more that could be done or gets done. You know, I think the cell phone is part of that. What eats the day up? You know, you got your face in this phone, and before you know it, damn, it's evening. You know, you couple that with the fact that you're working, and you're doing what you're doing throughout the day and all that, man. But still, man, we get your phone out, your face out that phone. It's like, damn, where'd the time go? Shit, I had to prepare for tomorrow. Yeah, that's a reality right there, man. When you put them cell phones down, we may find that our days are a little longer. You know what I mean? It may stretch the day a little more. But yeah, no cell phones, man. Nothing but friends, kin, folks, and running all day. Tell me about it, man. That's what it be. James said, man, I'm just taking it easy, brother. Yeah, that's right. Had you somebody agree. Just sound like you, man. You got your program set, man. You have your program set. Shit. Wanted some ice cream yesterday, last night, matter of fact, but they ate it all up, man. And then kids ate the ice cream all up. I'm like, man, golly. Regulate how you eating, man, because you come on, you're doing too much. But that's probably my fault, you know. I'm pretty sure that's my fault because I tend to not want to put barriers, you know, boundaries on what they do, hoping that they get it. But I understand, you know, to some extent, you have to lay down some barriers and, you know, boundaries, you know, some limitations, man, for them. That way it gives them a little structure. Yeah, had no, my wife liked that vanilla ice cream. Baby, all my ice cream gone. I'm like, oh, okay, all right. So yeah, man, wouldn't mind some ice cream, man. Wouldn't mind it. All right, Antonio, I see you, bro. Love and salute right back to you. Get it in. Get it in. James say, now I'm just here in the cut, big bug. Happy Wednesday. Yep. We're at that stage that I was saying, I mentioned a minute ago, the days go so fast now, man. We're damn near at the end. We're at the end of hump day. Thursday's tomorrow. I swear, man, we just started Monday. Well, it was a few days ago, but it was like it was yesterday, Monday, Fast. Boom. Just fast. Appreciate that, Antonio. Continue to do that, everybody. For those who are listening, ain't tapped in yet, man, but is a part of this RGC, this community, and that jumps in, throughout the week, watching the flow to get down to the podcast. Please like, share, follow, comment, and subscribe to this Get Down, y'all. The more the merrier, man, and the better I think the community becomes as a result of it. The more brothers and sisters we bring into this Get Down, man. It's for the good of the brothers and sisters who come to the Get Down. You know what I mean? That's not a given. That's something, we have to work on or work towards, get this thing the way it should be, the way it's supposed to be. So I appreciate that, Antonio. Real love, man. Real respect for that, man. To the west side. All right. Appreciate you sharing this, man. That go for everybody that does that. All right. I know Queen and Zinga does it quite often as well, and get them shares in there, man. Hit that like button, y'all. Got to pound that thing. Got to pound it. And again, there is another podcast we have, The Art of Political Discourse. Do content for that every day, every day for the most part, 3 to 4, sometimes 4 different episodes of pieces of content as well. Go in there, man. Like, share, follow, comment, and subscribe to that one. Need for you brothers and sisters to go in there and subscribe to The Art of Political Discourse. It's all politics, you know what I mean? Reactions to what's going on around the world. Lately been focused, mainly on what's going on in the Middle East with the United States, Israel, and Iran, and then everybody else in the region getting involved in this situation. I think I'm gonna take my foot off the pedal on that one and come back stateside, and delve into what's going on here in the country. Because again, a lot is going on, but when we see stuff occurring the way it is, there's always something behind it. There's always something. It's there in most cases, for the most part. It's there to distract us from what's really going on. So I'm going to bring my attention back, man, to the nation and see what's going on in, the United States. It got to be something. They've effectively swept the Epstein files under the rug. You very, very rarely hear about that anymore. They were so close, I think, to breaking that wide open. Trump and his cohorts, they figured out how to, let's get the attention of the people off of this, because we got a lot of people to protect, and that I'm sure they do. I always said the Epstein files is just the tip of the iceberg. I think that there are files inside of the Epstein files of some very, very powerful people who, if it got out, it would no longer be called the Epstein files, because, we'd probably come to find out these people have been running the show the whole time. All this mess, they talk about with Epstein and politicians and they're super rich. We'll probably find out it wasn't even Epstein. He just a scapegoat. His name is just, put on a file, to keep others, safe or to protect him. But hey, the more we dig, the deeper you dig, I'm telling you, the deeper, you uncover stuff. You uncover a whole lot more that's going on. But yeah, I'm going to get back on that. But again, the podcast is The Art of Political Discourse. Go check it out on YouTube, man. Trying to get that thing up and running. We're trying to get the numbers of subscribers up to like 5,000. We could do that. I'm pretty sure that we can, All right, James Buzz say, Bub, can you share what it was like in the early 80s? That ain't nothing, man. Sharing that is nothing. I know 1980 was a different year. The air had changed, and I always wondered why it got so vicious because my big homies tell me that it was a straight cold battlefield from 82 to 92 and today. Yeah, that's true, man. Rakufu, what it do, bro? Yeah, we did watch and actually we had watched Mercy already and the Rip. Watched them both. Well, the Rip, we watched we started on Mercy. I said, yeah, we watched this. So we went and watched it again anyway. The Rip, now that's the one I'm not too sure of. I'm trying to remember who's the character. It's the guy that played Thor. I forget his name. I'm not sure about Rip. I holler down to my wife and ask her, and she'll come up and let me know what Rip was about. That way I can remember, I can recall it, you know what I mean? But yeah, Mercy we did watch. Mercy was crazy. Yeah, we did watch that. Yeah, the 1980s, man. 1980s. I recall coming into the year 1980. I remember that, man, like it was yesterday. Actually, 1980s was different, and things had, for real, begun to change. Um, you shit. I'm trying to figure out what school I was going to, and this was really when I started my campaign. Being incarcerated, juvenile hall, the camp, the youth authority, stuff like that. You know what I mean? Started in '79. Going jail. Going to juvie, getting locked up, going to juvie, getting out. Shit like that. But the 1980s did change, man. A lot was changing, man. The team posters back then, man. I'm pretty sure for us, in the area, there was the team post. The team post was, anybody with somebody was at the team post. And we used to have brothers from other areas come and hang out at the team post with us. The East Coast, for instance, used to come over there a lot. We had one right there on 69th and Hoover. So they would come over a lot, and hang out with us. This was also the year, like I said, man, a lot of things had changed. We started to do shit differently. So by this time, we were getting off the dirt bikes. It wasn't no more dirt bikes. Mostly everywhere we went, we were walking. Deep. The young homies. All us. We were young at the time, walking. Numbers, and we had our cliques and crews, but for the most part, we all knew where to meet at, and boom, had a big old walk to school, from school, ditching throughout school, that sort of thing. Yeah, those were crazy times. But again, for a lot of us, it began that era when we started, when our generation, so to speak, had started to go to jail. You know, we started filling up the juvenile halls, camps and youth authority. We were we were the next in line, so to speak. All the homies, man. I mean that they near literally, all the homies were going in and out of jail, man. You know, um, a lot of homies being arrested for bull crap, things they didn't do. But hey, the police mentality back then was just close the case. It don't matter, whether they did it or not. Look guilty, arrest them, and let them, deal with it in court. Um, Again, that was an era we were coming into our own. We were thinking, like young hoodlums would think. For whatever reason, we were trying to get it. Get what? I don't know. It was just a little money in our pockets. And a fresh pair of Chucks. Some Nick Kickers or something. You know what I mean? Pendletons, Levi's, the golf hats, the Batman jackets. We trying to dress, make sure our shit was fresh, For a lot of us, that was cool. It happened like that. For a lot more now, it was more of a grind or a hustle. You had to go and get that, go, head to the streets, find a way, and that's what a lot of us did. Um, For us, in terms of activities, I'm not going to do too much speaking about that. I mean, I can just tell you, yeah, we started going to juvenile halls a lot, and this is where we started to expand, uh, the knowledge, understanding of who we were, who they were, and all this stuff, running into different people, learning, different names and, coming into different associations, meeting people. So that was the era. That was the era. For me, and a lot of others, it was, okay, we get locked up and hey, we be gone, some of us for months, others for a year or two, boom, come back out, same thing. But YA, well, again, juvenile hall camp, then YA was the thing, what I mean? That seems that was the rites to passage, you know what I mean? That was the experience for a lot of us, here today, gone tomorrow, look up, like I say, man, 6 months or a year from now, there we're back, everybody, hey, and the ritual was the same, get out, everybody see you, hey, go to the shack, get high, get drunk, and do that type of thing, For some of us, it didn't last long. The party or the celebration, you coming home didn't last long. Boom. Where so-and-so, oh, they got locked up last night. Like, dang, back in jail, For a lot of us, it didn't play like that. A lot of dudes would go get arrested, man. They'd be fortunate enough to get out, in a week or so, boom, kicked out. Then it wasn't that for a lot of other dudes. For a lot of other dudes, yeah, you go to jail. Okay, next thing you know, they're either in camp, or if they had been to camp a couple of times and numerous times before, they're going straight to youth authority, YA. And that's what it was. That was the play, man. That was the play. So you're in and out of being incarcerated from the juvenile hall system all the way to the youth authority system. And again, that began to change by 82, 83, a lot of, the loved ones were now finding their way or finding themselves on their way to state prison, because of course there were a couple of guys older than us by a year or two, if you do the math, I think yeah, 16. I was 16 in 80. So by 82, I'm 18, 83, I'm 18. And if you got cats like a year, like I said, or two ahead of you or older than you, they were already on their way to prison, and it was like that, it was like that, having loved ones now, that made that journey like that, that's just what it was, man. And I hate to say it like that, it's just so cut and dry, but that was how it was, from juvenile hall to camp, to youth authority. And before you know it, dudes was sitting in prison. And this was by 83, 1983, dudes were sitting in prison, young cats, 18, 19 years old, in prison, the 80s was filled with things that changed, man. Things that changed. 83, I come home from youth authority, man, and the game is up and running, and I'm trying to understand what the hell, when I left, it was about getting wet. It was Sherm, loop, getting wet. I come on now, hey, everybody's talking about this other substance, you know what I'm saying? And like, oh shit, and that didn't last long, before you know it, I was, back in. I was back in. I ended up maxing out by 85 from youth authority, and it was wide open. And again, a lot of us had already graduated from the youth authority and went to, were doing bids or been to state prison. And it didn't take me long. Sad to say, didn't take me long. Maxed out in 85 before I know it. I'm in prison. You know what I mean? And shit was, it was wild, man. Again, I'm not gonna go into depth. It's not something I like doing. But the shit was wild. It was going down. Brother James, as Brother James said, his G homies told him, yeah, true. That's true. It was going down, man. On a level unseen before, you know what I mean? In terms of, that culture, man. It was a clash, man. It was wild, to say the least. It was wild, man. And being a part of that, man, looking back on it now, without trying to make excuses or nothing, man, but there was no guidance, man. There was nobody to say, hey, man, this right here, this this ain't cool, y'all. It's gonna ruin us. There was none of that. Not from the streets per se. You know what I mean? There are different aspects of lacing individuals or preparing them for what's to come, especially if you're in the streets. And then there's the aspect of family saying, hey, this is not good. We didn't raise you like this, or so you would get it in that respect. But as far as the streets, you would get it from a different perspective. Meaning that, okay, if you're gonna be out here, be on guard, you know what I mean? Have Uslamu and understand that, hey, it's all bad out here, And that was what we got more than anything. Not that, hey man, this shit is all bad. Check this out, y'all. Let's not do it like this, There wasn't that, and again, that structure wasn't there. And guys tended to, hey man, go about it how they have been going about it. You know what I mean? All gas, no brakes, That's what it was, man. Let's be honest. All gas, no brakes, and this is why I found myself, transitioning from youth authority to prison like that, my stage in youth authority it tended to be a little longer than others, me and a few more loved ones, all through Fred C. Nellis, the YTS, you know what I'm saying? We did little semi jokes for youngsters, 3 years, 4 years, you know what I'm saying? That type of get down. Met a lot of solid brothers along the way from somewhere everywhere, man. I mean that. I really mean that. I think though the crazy part about that was we could meet somebody from another area, man, and have a lot of love and respect for them, break bread with them, man. Hey, man, be super cool with them. Walk the yard with them. Everything we did, youth to 30, we did together. There were those kind of relationships. Brothers were cool. But then come home and yeah, I might be cool, but hey, man, it's still on. You know what I mean? I never comprehended why that respect, that camaraderie and that love for individuals didn't transcend or spill over to those individuals' loved ones. And conversely, you know what I mean? That's crazy, man. That's some crazy stuff. To be cool with cats, man. And rest in peace, Bob Mack, man, from 89 East Coast. I mean, this cat, man, we was all through YA, man. And I'm smiling because I recall, bro was a solid cat, man. We done YA time together. You know what I mean? I recall, oh man, shit. I think this was like 85, man. I maxed out of YA. I maxed out of YTS 85. It's right before I went back. It could have been that. Yeah, it was 86, I think. And he had ended up transitioning to his mom moved to the set right here on 73rd in Hoover, next to Tam's in apartments, and his mom lived right upstairs. And somebody came, it was a conversation, man, this is a dude over here, and he's from Woot to Woot, he's from East Coast, and blah, blah. And we're like, what? Nah, man, you couldn't, oh man, won't. So as we're walking there, he's coming, I think maybe from wherever he's coming from, he's going, his mom lived there. He was going up in there, and I look, I hollered out his name, man. I'm gonna tell you something. Back then, man, if there was this thing, if they were talking about, they was representing, man. We were representing back then, and you could have been looking deaf in the face and like, all right, and and Bob Mack, he had a style about it. If you knew him, man, you knew. So he's Bub, man, we chilling, man, and I'm telling this the homie, man, everybody dispersed, man. I went, and met his moms and everything, man. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, man, you the homie, man. And then he didn't have any problems, you know what I mean? He didn't have any problems, man. It's just where it was. So I never understand them why doing time from juvenile hall to camp to youth authority, this before prison, actually, why brothers, we could create bonds and hold bonds, keep bonds together, man, in there, come home and still with that individual, we straight, but the sets didn't align, didn't find that peace, man, or that camaraderie. I never understood that. To this day, it makes no sense. It makes no sense, man, why brothers can't do that, and we do it in there, and some of us still do it out here. Brothers are out here, man. I got a lot of love and respect for them, my brothers from other areas, man. And I swear, if you got to want to do something, you got to do something to me. That's how I look at that. These are these are my brothers, just from a different mother, I go to bat for them like I know they'll go to bat for me. You know what I mean? So then why are we in this situation, this predicament? Why does it play out the way it played when we all know somebody from somewhere else and we bros, we brothers, we broke bread, we done been through some shit together. We have traumas that are identical, the same, our experiences, all this stuff, mothers may know each other, brothers may know each other, brothers, such, you know what I mean? This is crazy to me. But the 80s was like that. That's how it started. Another brother, man, to the loved one, man. I'm not even gonna say no names, but yeah, his brother, was the founder of Hoover, you know what I'm saying? And one night, I knew he was over there, we knew each other, from another set. And homies got wind of it, like low, and it was all bad. And then I just happened to stumble on. I heard it was a party on the foe. There's a party on the foe, so we boom get over there, and I see this. Like, I get out, like, hey man, what's happening? Like, nah, man, nah. Homies was mad at me, so okay, but no, you know what I mean? No, and we've all had those instances, those instances where individuals stood up and spoke out for other individuals and would tell the homies, nah, man, no, that's what it was, man. That's what it was, man. Those days were dangerous, no doubt. They changed. It changed everything. What we see today is a result of what went on back in the 80s, no doubt, man. But again, for the life of me, I don't get why that never went away. Knowing who we know and how we interacted with other individuals from different sections or sectors. It astounds me to know that, man, wait a minute, man, that's something's not right. Something's not right about this whole process, So, but that's what it was, man. And the 80s, it started out just like that, man. 1980, I can just recall a lot of shit, man, just like, whoa, yeah, like, yeah, whoa, this is what it is, okay, and that's what it was. Again, man, I get out of YA, man, and that, that part of the game in terms of hustling, it was no longer Sherm, loot. It was that, I'm like, whoa, what the, and I'm being schooled and laced about that game. You know what I mean? It's a wonder nobody said, or people that say, ah, man, knowing what they were seeing transpire, how this thing was going and how it was affecting the people would be like, no, man, we ought not do this. Such and such mama, such and such daddy, such and such sister, such and such brother have fallen victim to this. No, man, but nobody said it. It was, rather than say that, it was, hey, man, I made $1,000 last night, Like, what? Pulling up in something, got a new chain on, new fits, in a week, you got this car that's like, you look at it like, man, it had to cost this brother thousands and thousands of dollars, but there it was. And I think that's what made it acceptable. That's what changed, a lot of what used to be close-knit communities, man, into, a free fall. You know what I mean? That's what it was. That game right there, man. Again, so I come home and, 85 was up and running, man, maxed out, and didn't take me no time. It's also same year, met my wife. And funniest thing, she wasn't about no funnies. You know what I mean? I'm with one of my loved ones. I think I'm out maybe 2 days. I'm out maybe 2 days, man. I'm with my loved one, we about to hit 74th, I'm in his car. His car is all tight. It's tight. You know, I'm like, God damn, we in an era where the music is just super loud, the paint on the car is fresh, the laces and Vogues, Dayton's, whatever, you know, big chain, wad of money. I mean, literally like this, not like this, you see now, not like a little wad, a wad, two. Shit, sometimes three, man. I've seen it, man. Brothers that won't go home, put their money up, But I met her that year, man. I met her that year, man, with my loved one. Rest in peace, man. Hit the love. I'm like, yeah, man. She lived down the street. I've been trying to, man, with see, I'm trying to talk to her, and you don't say nothing to her. I'm like, man, you crazy as hell, man. What the fuck you talking about, man? Tell me you talk to no female, man. You crazy. Man, shit, jumped out, try to holler at her, man, got checked quick. Got checked quick. Like, boy, literally, I mean, seriously, boy, go somewhere. I'm like, damn. Yeah, like, boy, go somewhere. I ain't got time for you. So I know she had school books and shit in her hands and shit, when, I'm like, oh, all right. So, all right. She didn't know she had met her match, I'm like, all right, cool. Was right back there the next day, waiting in the duplex, sitting on the stairs, waiting, looking, wait, you must be hard-headed. What you doing? What, you ain't doing nothing. No, walked on. Shit. Week straight, man. All right. Shit. I'm like, yeah, girl, you tripping. Mm-hmm. Yeah. For a week straight, man. And I'm finally able to, carry the books home, walk through the front porch, leave, That's how that was 1985. But anyway, yeah, man, that's something I never forget, man. Like shit, like most of my life, that matters, man. I'll never forget that. But again, man, got home, man, 85, and I tell you, everything was just, it wasn't what it should have been, man. And then you had this product in the streets, and most brothers and sisters, don't get it twisted, because they was in that game too, man, and was doing well. Whole lot. And it's not for me to mention names. I'm not gonna do that. You know what I mean? Not in that respect. You know what I mean? A lot of cats, they cool with that. I'm not cool with that. But a lot of sisters too had made their way, made their bones in that game, man, and was no joke with it, Again, though, the crazy part is that none of us actually realized, again, as well, we didn't as a whole understand what was going on and how to manipulate what was going on, or have it transition, if such a thing is even possible, from the negative to the positive. None of us got that part. Individuals saw that, okay, this is a gold mine. What can I do with this? And they made attempts to do exactly that. Some had help on a large scale, you know what I mean? And some, from the ground up, but nobody said, as for instance, if this is what's being done in the community and it's not serving the community, it's hurting the community, how do we get back to the community? How do we protect the community? How do we heal the community as a result of this? Nobody thought of it like that. Nobody looked at it like that, man. Again, so it was this free for all, for self type of mentality, what I mean? Even, no matter where you were in the greater Los Angeles area or anywhere else this was going on, brothers have begun to turn on brothers, behind this thing, what I mean? It was crazy, man. It was crazy, but we didn't bring it together. And how could anyone expect us to, when, again, when we grew up without structure. Those who could have laced us, well, not just well, but correctly, were gone. They were taken first. You know what I mean? We only had remnants of what we remembered from them, what I mean, as kids, you know what I mean? So here we are 5 years into the 80s, 6 years into the 80s, and this thing is happening. you know, and it's happening in such a way, man, that it was like there was no turning back, man. Then you had individuals who were older establishing, cliques and things like that, establishing so-called enterprises, you know, uh, and their mentality was the same as ours, you know what I mean? But probably worse, but on a probably even on a higher scale or more organized, level, man. Just put it to you like that. So it was there really was not any structure in this. And then again, it's hard to define that in that type of detriment or in that type of get down, as messed up as it was, in terms of what it was doing to the community. How could you find what kind of structure could come from that? It's crazy, but I kind of understand what I mean by it. We want to make something good come from something bad. This is just not the way that's going to work. I mean, not saying that it couldn't possibly, but it did it over there. We had who we had over there, what I mean, setting up and making the thing happen, man, all of them down Figueroa with establishments and stuff, but there was no um order. There was still no structure in terms of, making this thing work for the community. You know what I mean? And then he couldn't tell nobody what to do over there. Those are facts. I don't know what most people think when that his name is mentioned in terms of that game. He didn't run nothing over there. He didn't run the damn thing on Hoover. And most didn't give a dang what he had. Just did it. Facts. I mean, speaking straight up facts. Was allowed to be there long as when rent time came up, time to collect rent. You paid your rent. You know what I mean? But there was no authority other than that. And real shit. Real shit. And you got to think about it. Excuse me. To that individual, it wasn't about that. It was about getting out the product. Well, you got to really think about that. It wasn't trying to be the authority behind the product. That wasn't. I don't think that for anybody with some sense in the business sense would look at it like that. Man, I got to control this. I just got to move it. I just got to move it. You know what I mean? Just move the product, not control the product. Move it. Even the prices weren't controlled. They depended. Again, some of us got it for free. Some of us paid a certain price. Some of us paid hefty prices, whatever. So again, I think there's a lot of misconception in terms of that individual in his involvement with Hoover sat, with the SAT. You just there. You just happen to be the one that had it. You know what I mean? So, and for that reason, you were allowed to be around, to get it on, as long as we benefited. And that was the case. Again, there was no structure, and you could not have expected that even from him, because again, I think his priority wasn't to necessarily structure the game. It was to move the product in the game. That's it. So that being said, shit, again, it was just wild. It was wild, man. And the more the deeper communities got in that game, the more treacherous it became. You know what I mean? Sets have become almost military. You know what I mean? The militarism was evident based upon the type of hardware, the munitions and stuff. You know what I mean? That stuff, that go boom boom real loud, rapidly. You know what I mean? That type of thing. Knock holes in cars. That begin to also change, the mindset of the community, you know what I mean? So now for real, it wasn't, I can say honestly, man, things had changed even within all the communities where wars were breaking out in all the communities amongst themselves, sets were imploding. Some were getting too big, your heads were getting too big for the hats, you know what I'm saying? Things of that nature. I had been told that actually. One of our loved ones, man, had you know, I imagine it like this, man. This is how I understood it. The individual didn't like the way I was getting down because I wasn't following whatever protocols or rules that individual was trying to establish. You know what I mean? I had ties to people that he or they didn't have. You know what I mean? And when I wasn't willing to play the game the way they wanted the game to be played, you know, it became an issue. And so that individual would go and holler at G status cats about me. You know what I mean? Now, again, I grew up on the set my whole life. So I knew these cats, these G cat personally, you know what I mean? So when it came to a head, and I'm like, well, so why you here? If he got an issue, then me and him handle this. Why, you know, but won't, you know, that these issues arose as a result of this product, man, and what it did to, you know, not just the community, but the people in the community. You know what I'm saying? It became this thing, it became a competition. It became, okay, I got to be, you know, the Lord. I got to be, you know, the one. You follow me, you go nowhere, you know, type of mentality. Like, you know, you watch New Jack City, you know, in films like that, that's what we see. People wanting to take control of the game. You know what I mean? And again, like I was trying to express about that brother, and I'm not going to name, y'all figure it out. You know, that wasn't his game. It wasn't about trying to control the game or the individuals in the game. That wasn't his position. It was just to push it, get out the product, and let them deal with that. You know, smart approach if you really think about it, you know. But we had individuals like that though on the low end. Would come home from prison, come home from the structure that was in prison, and rather than say, okay, man, this is what we learned in prison, we killing each other by doing this, they would come home with this mindset, I'm gonna take over the game, you know, and everybody report to me, you know. Coming home, and brothers had already, you know, established, like I say, cliques and crews. I had one, you know, I had a pretty viable one, you know what I mean? But no, bro, you know, not only that, but I've been here, man, putting in work and everything. Go to jail. Mostly every time I went to jail was for the, you know, for the get down. You know what I mean? So I'm just trying to say, man, rather than that aspect of the game bringing stability to the communities, man, it did the reverse. There was a reverse to that, you know what I mean? And it brought destruction, you know, more dissension. You know what I mean? The communities begin to implode within themselves, you know, more than anything else, you know what I mean? Where that game could have actually brought, or could have, from it, structure could have been established, but it had to have been something that was wanting to separate itself from the game in order to lay a solid foundation for us to stand on as a people, as a community. You know, that wasn't the case though. So all that occurred, man. The 80s, like I say, was just, they were off the chain, man. The 80s were off the chain. And again, in a lot of respects, sets started imploding. There was a lot of free fall type stuff, man. And then some sets actually grew tighter as a result of what we were seeing occurring around us. You know what I mean? There were spats, you know, there were, you know, differences, you know, I'm pretty sure in a lot of communities, you know what I mean, individual issues, you know what I mean, behind the game or whatnot, you know, but for the most part, I can only speak to us, you know what I mean? We tended to try to keep ours together, you know what I mean? I'm talking about seven folds, you know. Um, and I'm not trying to glorify this, but there was really, man, for the most part, man, the majority of us, we weren't needing for nothing, you know. We weren't needing for nothing, you know what I mean? And however our get down was individually, that was accepted amongst us, as long as it didn't infringe on anybody else. So again, I don't want anyone to think who's just coming into this conversation that I'm glorifying this stuff. I'm not. So when I ask the question, I'm just, you know, trying to relate to you guys what actually took place and how that stuff affected us, you know, from 1980, you know, you know, I have to also say from 1980 to, let's say, 1989, I was MIA for the most part, you know. my stay in society was limited, very limited, and in that limited amount of time, I was very destructive. I committed to destruction, you know what I mean, in our community as well as others, you know what I mean? So hey man, I'm not trying to glorify this stuff in the least bit, I'm trying to, it's best I can share with you guys what the 80s were like to me, how I perceive the 80s to be, you know. Again, like I said, met my wife in 85, man. We met, and me, you know, uh, she was a no nonsense. She is a no nonsense type of woman, a queen through and through. Don't play the games. Period. Point blank. So though my initial, you know, when I first saw her, I knew, and once we got together, I was able to tell you, you're gonna be my wife one day. I said this. She gonna be my wife one day. I'm gonna marry you. We gonna, and again, young boy, get out of here. You don't know what you're talking about. You know. But me being how I was, you know what I mean, it ruined that in a year, in less than a year, you know what I mean? This is all type of conflict, man, that I created. You know what I'm saying? A long story short, man, by 86, I was in prison. You know, I was in prison. You know what I mean? So, um, and got a mouthful from the loved ones when I got there. You know, got a mouthful, man. And I don't know. I tend to think that if it weren't a lot of love for the young ones coming up behind them, or for me, personally, I'd have probably got booked just because my attitude, and how you know um, we had a tendency to think we was the shit, you know, that nobody could tell us nothing because we didn't been through it. We've been there and done that. You wasn't there. You can't say nothing to it. That was our attitude. Not realizing that these were, these the masons, so to speak. These were the guys, who invested in masonry. They laid to pave the road that we were treading on, we were walking on. These guys had constructed the foundation that we stood up on talking this big shit, you know. We were on that foundation, as if, we created this or we did that, And I'm telling you, I think that if it weren't for the love loved ones had, just because we had a certain fire about us, what I mean, we did carry ourselves a certain way that was not, that, and I'm not throwing no shade on nobody, man. We carried ourselves a certain way, man, that a lot of others did not, or that a lot of others also recognize and begin to mimic. I have to say that, man. And again, that's not trying to take from nobody, man, because everybody has their own story and their experience, you know what I'm saying? But I'm speaking now from the inside looking out. I know what was brought to the table in terms of our generation and what it was, So and again, not to glorify it, not to, make like, we was just these badass. They come from everywhere, y'all. These badass brothers and sisters, they come from everywhere. Hoover did not or was not the only. We didn't have the mold. We didn't own the mold. You know what I mean? They were produced everywhere, man. But again, the loved ones, they embraced us, and them tell you, me and Mice from A. Trey Hoover, we was there, and again, man, it was like, what y'all talking about, man? You dudes tripping, and like, nah, we were made to know that we was tripping. You know what I'm saying? So, things had, I started to get laced, man. This is 86, man. And so I took for some guns, I took a deal for like 18 months, you know? And I knew my time was coming, it was time for me to get ready to go. And a lot of G homies were there, all up and down Hoover Street was there, in that yard, Central, solid ass Central. And like, hey man, this is what it is, man. This, not because, we want something from this, man. other than to see you not go back out there, man, and fail, but fail in such a way where ain't no get back. Look at us, you know, their life sentence came from different boats, different type of get downs and shit than what they saw a lot of brothers coming in there getting life sentences for. They were totally different, and they were trying to warn, us, like, hey man, you know. And again, we were at an age, man. I could have been 21, 22, 22. You know what I mean? Going on 23. Like, yeah, man, yeah, I hear you, but you can't, still, I kept that under wraps. You can't tell me shit, because you couldn't just do that like that. You would get booked. And I think that saved me, the fact that I didn't get checked the way I should have been, because, they probably saw potential. They saw something in me, enough in me to spare me. You know what I mean? So time came me to parole, man. And G homies. Some still with us, some not, I'm in communication with most of those who are still with us. Hey man, for real, this is, and when I landed, and I'm getting letters from them. Nothing changed. There was no, oh, you home now, here, send me a package, send me money, or send me. It wasn't none of that. It wasn't none of that. Like, man, you home, figure out another way, I didn't listen, true to form, I didn't listen. But that occurred, man. And, again, because I didn't listen, guess what? I was headed back. And this time they trying to put bodies on me. They trying to do stuff. They're trying to give me life in prison, and I'm like, oh shit. And everything I was told before I got out back then, it's coming to me now. And I'm sitting up in 4800 like, oh shit, what the hell, I don't know, man. And the crazy part, I stopped believing in Jesus and God and all that stuff in 86 in Soledad. But here I am fighting this case. And my mom like, damn, how do I get out of this, Jesus? God help me, and I end up getting a case. I end up having to do 8 years. I took a deal for 8 years. All right. I took a deal for 8 years, man. And woo. And that was just one of a couple type situations where, I'm like, damn, man, okay. Guess what? Still didn't listen. By 92, man, I'm back on my way. And this time wasn't no escaping it. You know what I mean? So the 80s, man, to be quite honest with you, I was in jail. The little spurts, the little vacation time, I had on the streets, man, was actually short. So from the 80s, from 1980 to 1989, I spent in totality on the streets 2.5 years. All right. 2.5 years. All right. Came home, and again, man, went right back, and this was, early 90s, 92, went right. That was it. I didn't see the streets no more for some decades, so, I mean, and that's the short version of what went down in terms of, growing up in the 80s, man, from 1980s, till, 90, the early 90s, man, and when everything, had caught up to me, you know what I mean? So that's what that was, man. And that, again, that's the condensed version. That's the watered down version, you know what I mean? Because I will refrain from talking about a lot of shit that never should be discussed, on social media, even in books. You just some shit you just keep to yourself. The shit you done that that shit not to be discussed, man. And I make it a point not to do that. But there that is, man. And there would probably be another version of it. But again, it would still be devoid of, just the mess and, the conflict, the wars and shit like that. You never get that out of me, not gonna happen, So that being said, man, this, I've been talking long enough. What these comments talking about, man? There you go, James. You always find a way to extract something from me, huh? As long as you recognize it's like pulling teeth, brother, it's okay, all right? It's all right. Shit, I need a water. I thought I brought a water in here, man. Fuck. Okay. Rakufu, what's going on, black man? Oh, yeah, we did talk about that. Yep. Oh, yeah. No. Oh, the rip where they had the money. Now, yeah. They were going after the money. It was doing a lick, and they started turning on each other. They were trying to rip each other off. That was a good one, though. Yeah, I did watch that one also, bro. Just so you know, I did watch that one. When you said the crooked police, it lit me. I was lit. I knew what you were talking about then. Yeah, that was. I think it was Ben Affleck and somebody else, man. It was some cold to the cops. Is cold, ain't they? They worse than street level individuals, tell you the truth, man. They got a lot protecting them, backing them. They can get away with some shit, hide some stuff, man, or create scenarios, man, that wasn't, you know what I mean? Just all kind of weird stuff. Yeah, that was a cold flick, man. James said somebody understood the similarities are all there. James said, I hate that so many of our people had to go through that, bub. That ain't cool to me. It never was. I don't know, my wife down there screaming to something. Okay. Okay, let me find a space to jump into. And again, you guys know I'm reading going up. So I'm scrolling up. Everything new is down there, but I'm trying to catch up anyway. Okay, James said, man, I hate movies personally, but I've always hated those prison documentaries, seeing my people like that in them cages, then and now. We must do better. It's heartbreak, bro. I don't care what nobody say. I feel for my people every single day. We got some sick-minded MFs in our community who have zero empathy or sympathy, just non-human behavior, cold and heartbreaking. Yeah, man. I'm like you in a lot of ways, man. And again, if I'm ever able to get my wife to come sit down with me and somebody, hit us with some questions and stuff, she'll tell you guys certain movies I just can't. Prison movies I don't like watching per se, what I mean? Slave movies I can't, digest them. I don't want, boom. In some documentaries, referring to prison, like the one Attica, man, that one documentary about Attica, man, that was some cold shit, and I kind of felt that a lot, in a strong way. But I'm like that too, man. Some prison movies I don't watch them, I'm actually against them. So same here, bro. Same here. Yeah, man. All right, Lisa Moore, how's her sister? Hey, right back to you, Queen. She say, hey, big brother, peace and blessings to all. Be one in the chat. Likewise, peace and prosperity to you and yours. May your day have been so far to your liking, your approval. All right. There ain't but a couple of hours left, few hours left in the day. Still, that's time enough to get something, from it, and hopefully this will be a part of that. Hopefully we can dispense something to you that you can take with you, you can sleep on, man, sister, and have it, or as a result of it, coming to your day tomorrow, if the ancestors so choose, with something strong on your mind, and help you get through that day. But again, peace and prosperity to you and yours. Beautiful seeing you here as always. You and that sister Queen and Zinga and Kimberly Mitchell, C1. I haven't heard from C1 in a few days. Again, our hopes here at Under the Groove Podcast is that she's well, that she is well, and that those brothers and sisters on, over at the, down deep in Australia, man, in spite of the struggles, man, they are standing strong, they're standing strong. They're pushing through that struggle that's occurring over there as a result of Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu. and their plots, their plans, their schemes, man. So if you hear C1, hold your head, sister. Keep pushing. Keep pushing, Queen. It's in you. It's in you. So, all right, Lisa. Good to see you here. All right, Raymond Skull. What it do, Roscoe? Peace and blessing you, Bub, and the Royal Group congregation. Likewise, you said that scenario you pointed out being cool with brothers inside as if y'all were homies, but get out and it's back on. Then your mind have to snap back to reality. That was a wild transition, man. You go on to say shout out to Baby Shyster, rest in peace to bro. My mother stayed next door to his mother. He and I was solid too. He knew where I was from, and I never had a problem on 7-4 and Fig. You going to say, Roscoe, man, that era you speaking of made us lose sight about the harm it was causing because it was freeing people from poverty. Dudes were getting rich, and that was the focus. Now, to that point, yeah. And that's how a lot of us looked at it. But, that began to be a non-issue. We forgot that it was about, trying to get out of poverty. You know what I mean? A lot of brothers got into that situation for that reason, right? We're trying to find a way to feed because, a lot of people don't know that early 1980s was a bad time for black folk. Straight up, man. When they talk about Reaganomics, man, they're really talking about the effect Reagan and the Republicans, really the whole political apparatus, man, what it did to the black communities all over this country and over the world. They affected everybody, man, and it was to decimate and put us right where we were in poverty. A lot of people don't really understand that, man. There were just too many of us who were in abject poverty, man, so the gang came along. And initially it was a way or a means to feed our family, to provide for our family, to pay the rent, the phone bill, the gas bill, the light bill, the car note, to buy your little brother and your little sister a pair of tennis shoes, that would, that would stop them from being bagged on and clowned because their shoes were torn and tattered. That's what it was. That's how it started out. But we lost sight of that, bro. In a matter of time, a short period of time, if you ask me, that was no longer the case. Those were no longer the reasons or the purpose as to why we were doing what we're doing. It then became about who had the most, who was the flashiest, whose chain was bigger, whose fits were more expensive, whose car was flashier. And we still lived in the hood, in poverty. Some of these individuals and families who partook in it, houses were still a wreck. All the cars in the driveway look good, but the houses were still damn near dilapidated. You know what I mean? In ruin. You come out of that shack looking house, man, fresh, dressed like $1 million, but damn, man, you jump in a car that's nice, man, but damn, man, you didn't do nothing for the house. Not on that, you didn't buy it. You didn't create some generational wealth that would help, later down the line, lifting the people up out of poverty. We didn't do that, man. This was a cold system that we got caught up in. And for the most part, most of us can't even see that think tank that the CIA used to do this thing with to help some foreigners get guns or whatever lie they tell, man, that they thought even further than that. It was like two birds with one stone type of, thought process there, man. We're going to bring this over here. We're going to create a system or a situation where we can make money off this drug, this substance, take this money, purchase all these guns, man. And at the same time, we can devastate this community on a whole. We can devastate the whole community from the West Coast to the East Coast and everything in between. That's what they did. And they thought about it. They say, man, and hey, these people are doing so bad, man. They'll take this and run with it. They won't really get it because, they be like, kids in the candy store. They not gonna worry about nothing, man. They to their death, they will sell this stuff, man. They use this to, man. Nobody can tell me any different, man. No one can tell me any different. That they knew exactly what was gonna happen, what would take effect, and that the majority of us would not utilize that substance to uplift our people or bring our people out of poverty. They knew. They knew, man. They knew. I'm telling you. And they allowed those who pushed it to push it for a long time, all the way up until they stopped playing ball with them. You know what I mean? So that's something else you got to think about, man. When they decided to go and get the higher ups, it was because something didn't go the way that they wanted to go. Okay, you trying to outthink us here? You trying to do more than what we're telling you to do? Okay. Let you, we're gonna let you know how we really play ball. And that's what they did. And for everyone that they put up, they knock down, they'll replace another one. That's just the way they do. But again, excuse me, we didn't look at that as a means to get ourselves out of poverty. We looked at that, man, as a means to outshine one another, man, to outdo one another, to one up each other. That's the same mentality we have today. It's the same thing we see today. We ain't got that substance in the community like we did, what we got now is social media. And in social media, and I defy it as a substance, not literally in it, but hey, we're trying to outdo each other. For what? And as a means that we use this platform or whatever, man, what are we getting from it? How is it helping any of us? The people as well as the community. It's the same shit, y'all. Just packaged different. You just selling it to a different, man. Real spit. So yeah, man, hey, I knew that thing was all bad, man, when one of my family members, hold on, this is important. Hey, wait, what's up? I'm on doing my live. What's up? All right, all right. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, one of my family members was caught in this web, man, and I was like, oh shit, an auntie, an auntie. I was like, oh shit, man, whoa, whoa. And I'm gonna tell you what I did. And I thought it was just not the slickest thing, but I thought, okay, man, I left LA to go down south to do the same shit, thinking I don't have to see this here. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? If that isn't twisted or warped thinking, I don't know what it is, man. So I left, because you can make more down there, was one of the factors. But for real, okay, I ain't got to see that. That made it all the more reason for me. I don't have to see that. That's some messed up stuff, man. And luckily, was that from yeah, I lasted a year and a half on the streets in the 90s. 18 months, damn near to the day. Had left, went there, Mississippi, Macomb, in Summit, but purchased a house in Liberty. Went got my mom, bought her back. My younger brother, you know, and the pro sports was after my brother. So I'm thinking, okay, I got to get you out of Inglewood. Again, man, I'm thinking I'm doing it right, but I really wasn't. You know what I mean? Now I'm exposing him to another aspect of my life that was just wrong, just detrimental. You know what I mean? Not just to me, but to him as well. From the game banging down to the game, you know. And I'm calling myself, just making sure I know where he is. I'm looking after him. You know, hey man, you just go to school, you know, do what you're supposed to do in school, you know. Pro teams, they're gonna do what you do, you know, but not realizing I'm exposing him to this shit. So, you know, he's in the streets, man, going to clubs, you know, just doing everything but what he's supposed to be doing, you know. Him and one of my loved ones. And then his homeboys are coming down, you know, and we showing them a good time. You know what I mean? You know, just doing it ass backwards. Just doing everything ass backwards, thinking I was taking care of business, and I was just messing up more. You know what I mean? So there, you know, that's where that was. And then just the way fate have it, you know, I call myself being just super slick with the shit, man. And shit caught up with me. Shit caught up with me. That's the plainest way I can put it, man. Those who know, you know, shit caught up with me, man. I was trying to play both ends between the middle, man. You know, uh, Cash used to say, man, you should just go and be a part of the game because you can win, you know, rather than game banging and shit. And you know, I'm 27 years old, man. I'm like, shit, man, you know. I ain't been on the streets, man. I don't know what I was trying to do, but I know it wasn't the right thing, man. But yeah, that shit had affected my family. And I called myself, you know, this how bad this stuff is, man. You know, we tend to make excuses for why we did it. And I'm telling you, there's no excuse. That's what I'm trying to say. There's no excuse. Poverty shouldn't have made us even do that. You know. And even if we didn't know any better initially, man, once we saw, because we all got eyes and brains, once we had the comprehension in terms of what this stuff was gonna do to us, we should, you know, right then and there, rejected it. We did it. So there's no excuse, man. You know, poverty couldn't be the reason, man. You know, we we killed off the people, man, and still are in poverty. You know what I mean? Go figure. But yeah, man, it's just so much to this shit, man. It's crazy. Again, though, Roscoe, too, you know, in terms of I see, you know, a lot of us have these relationships with brothers from other communities, man, you know, other hoods, other sets and stuff. And I mean, literally, we are brothers. And yet, man, our communities do not know how to coexist. That's crazy. That's some crazy stuff, man. Some crazy stuff, y'all. We are in, you know, here we are, man, in 2026. Nothing new under the sun, man. What we see happening today, it already happened, actually. You know what I'm saying? It just, you know, just made to look different. You know, got a new wrapping. You know, it's packaged differently. You know what I'm saying? But it's the same stuff. That's business for you. That's business for you, man. Here we are, man, in what we see taking place. Same shit. Just on a different platform now. You know what I mean? And this shit ain't beneficial, man. Who's winning? How does it help anybody in any community? The shit we see, real spit. How? See, the same way we hear brothers say, I'm getting the bag while we turn down the community. Same shit we heard in the 80s and the 90s. Same shit. I'm getting the bag, but we decimating the community with the product. Come on, man. This This ain't rocket science, homie. It's not rocket science. This is about the will of the people. These individuals who make the collective, who make up the collective, who make the community. It's about us, man, deciding to do things a certain way rather than the way we've been doing it, to change the paradigm. A lot of dudes ain't willing. It's a new product, man. They want to be the ones to say they sold more, that they did more when it started. You know what I mean? They want to be in the social media Hall of Fame. 50 years from now, they'll be talking about their names like they did something productive. But there's going to come a time when a college student or a college is going to go and do the data, do the research, and going to show how detrimental this stuff is or has been to the community. Guarantee you. Those are facts, man. That's what's going to happen. They already wrote the study, man. That shit sitting on somebody's shelf and something. They're gonna all this shit get recycled, get reused. It's just done like that. That's the way it's done. These brothers, man, just like we were back then, same stuff, just different package, different product, same mindset, man. Yeah, that is, man. Rakufu said, man, 1983 was my inception into the game off 73rd. Bub, you know who's and how's. No doubt, bro. And yeah, Ra, let's admit, we thought it was the shit. Everybody on 73rd on them mopeds, them brand new ass mopeds, man. The bros look at you. I mean, that was the flyest shit, right? Name the fit. You got low riders up and down 73rd, man. You got loved ones doing the most. And we looking at it like, that's the shit. We glorifying it. While we sitting there watching them go up and down 73rd on mopeds and low riders and just, going tops down on nice whips and shit. Somebody walks in front of us to pass us. It was somebody's relative smoked out now. Ain't nobody paying that attention, though. Ain't nobody even tripping on that. Ain't nobody even seeing that. We don't see the effects of that product on the people. We just see what it break, how we make it look good. No doubt, man. 73rd was up and running. Rest in peace to the G homie, man. Yeah, man. Hey, and again, man, I grew up in that area too. You know what I mean, homie? And we know everybody. Everybody know us, I can say now, man, that come on, man. Nah. We took hits, man. And we provided the weapon to bludgeon our people with. We helped put it out there, man. Our people took hits upside the head, man. Yeah. Rod goes on to say, Bub, you know who I forgot to say RIP to? Juice and his sister Angie, man. That's who it was, bro. Juice, my guy, man. Triplet, man. Him and Dooney, man. And Angie, man, sweetest black woman you ever want to meet, man. With the business, too. Angie wasn't no punk. Little bitty, short, diminutive woman. Short. Man, beautiful, though. Beautiful, man. It's, come on, home. Look what happened to Juice. All right? That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm discussing. This stuff didn't do nothing for us. None of it. If it was that product or that one, it's what they brought or what they helped to create in the mindsets of individuals, man, especially against one another. Come on, man. And them dudes, I can't say nothing to me to this day. Period. I don't care, man. No, there's nothing for us to talk about. I've been stopped. Hey, man, that he not that. That ain't his name. You go on what you want, but it ain't that. And that would my choice on that, my decision had been way before that incident occurred. But again, here's a situation where the community is imploding on itself. We're all still in poverty. We all still have issues, man, in our community with ourselves or with each other. I don't care what community you from. We have experiences, man, that are damn near identical if they aren't. You know what I mean? The perspective and the aspect, man, I'm telling you, they are, man. All right. Yeah, bro, I hear you, man. Them some tough times, man. A lot of fun we got from it, but when you think about the human cost, when you think about what we lost, ain't nothing to celebrate, man. And I know that's not what you're doing. I hear you loud and clear, bro. Juice and Angie, man. Come on. I was just talking about Dooney last night. Me and the wife said I gotta call Dooney. Just say how bro doing, man. Crazy. Kimothy Banks say, hey. All right, hello, Kimothy Banks. All right, that's a first. All right. Powers in the people. Good to see you up in this get down. And this is Under the Groove Podcast. Everybody, welcome. And you are more than welcome to be here. We keep everything above board here. No disrespect, man. Just love for the people, man. We could talk about them issues, man, that affect us. But, let's talk about them in such a way that, even if we want to disagree, we can agree to disagree respectfully. All right. This is where we touch bases with one another. This is where we want to bring the B1 into full effect. We would like to see that movement, man, spread out. B1 equals black first. This is our problem. We haven't put us first. We put things before us. We've put other people before us, but we've never set ourselves in this get down, no matter what it is, first. It's always been something or someone else. We push B1 here, all right? And that means black first, all right? Again, just love and respect, man, to the people. Power is in the people, all right? Peace and prosperity, everybody. Good to see you, like I said, up in here with us, hanging out. Kimothy Banks. Like, share, follow, comment, and subscribe to Under the Groove Podcast, people. We appreciate that. We would appreciate that. Queen and Zinga said, well, we always getting them ill-gotten gains. We have nothing to show for today. That is the point I'm pretty sure a lot of us can make. I mean, in such a way, it would astound anyone listening, And again, we had all kind of people doing this, man. And some you didn't even know was doing it. You didn't know. Mamas and daddies slick, tight in the game. You wouldn't know. And those were the ones who probably did something with it, but you wouldn't know it. Again, they were cut from different cloth. These older brothers and sisters who were probably in the game, they were different from us, those who could have been in their 40s, in their 50s at the time, I tell you, so I again, man, I come home. In my attitude, I didn't give a damn. And loved ones, mom would be like, no. I don't want him in front of my house. He caused too much trouble. In other words, I didn't know how to go with the program. I didn't know how to just be cool, you know what I'm saying, and do what needed to be done to get it done. You know what I mean? I was gonna make somebody take my stuff over there, and all kind of weird stuff, man. And I don't know, man. It was one of them things, man. I think more than anything, man, I think I just felt I felt out of place in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? I was never really comfortable with doing that shit. My heart was too big, man. I would see suffering. I would see all kind of shit, and it fucked me up. I had a thing about homies disrespecting them people. I don't give a damn, But at the same time, I knew them people were dangerous. I mean, seriously dangerous, man, seriously dangerous, but a lot of older folk was involved, man, who were older than us, and they probably did way more with that get down, the ill-gotten gain than a lot of us could even imagine. I know for a fact that's a fact, but yeah, man, that was nothing, man. There's nothing to brag or boast about, y'all. We got nothing to show for that stuff. Again, especially because we got nothing to show for it. Now, again, if we had done that and we were able to say 40 years later, you know what I mean? 40 years later, man, here, this is what we, how did this come to be? This facility and the services to the community. Sad to say, but we appreciate that we're able to say that this came from ill-gotten gains. We transitioned that. We paid the dues we need to pay. Gave back to the people as a result of this coming from the pain and trauma. The others, man, who helped build. None of that though. None of that exists, man. Rakufu says, man, hey, bub, me and David was listening to Gangsta Love by Rhonda Rick's sister the other day. She was tight in the video, Tim Tim Moon, or it was Pocket and Tim Tim going chest. Yeah, I was locked up when that took place. I got worried about it, and so I was like, yeah, all right, do the damn thing. I think I probably was maybe 2 years, 3 years into my sentence by that time, my life sentence, man. But I do recall that. And the coldest part about I never saw the video till I came home, man. Hito, Pocket, Timmy, rest in peace to both the loved ones, Pocket and Timmy, man. And shout out to our bro Hito, man. And Rhonda, man. Shout out to Rhonda, man. But yeah, man, I like to think that had I been there, I'd have been front and center in that video, man. Front and center in that video, man. Yeah, man, shit. Rakufu say, man, the word for the day is segue. All right. I've been using that a lot. I've been segueing into a lot of shit lately, right? All right. Hey, man, it's time for a new phone. There's something wrong with this damn phone, man. Oh, shit, that ain't cool. Segue. What does the word segue mean? I'm pretty sure I know, but anyway. Oh, they went stupid with me, man. Talking about them. Yeah. Okay, there we go. Yeah, that smooth transition, or to transition smoothly from one topic to another without interruption from that topic. You making that segue to or song or activity, Yep. And actually, they say it's originating as a musical direction. It functions both as a verb to make the transition and a noun, the transition itself. Synonyms are pivot, pass, and move on. All right. So those are the synonyms for that one particular word there, segue. It is to transition smoothly and without interruption from one topic, song, or activity to another. There you go. Appreciate that, man. What it do, Pope? And bro, forgive me, bro. I was explaining or expressing earlier. I took a load off, man. I was out running, running on fumes, man. And hey, man, I laid down and that was all she wrote, bro. All right. And I knew, you hit me this morning. I was, actually doing what I do in the mornings, you know what I mean? Working. And so I wasn't able to get back. But then, long story short, bro, just love and respect, man. Peace and prosperity to the fam, man. Just so you know, I love you, man. And we will talk, sooner rather than later. All right. I got the gist of what you were saying. The hours have changed or whatnot. I get you. And it's always going to be that. You know what I mean? It's always going to be there. Even when we decide to have our own get down, that LLC, that business or whatever, man, there's always going to be, different shifts and changes to the schedule. You know what I mean? In terms of the hours or whatnot, it's just what it is, bro. But anyway, you go on and say, man, what to do, bub? Just got off work. I tried to call you anyway. I try to call you anyway. I know UTG and the RGC got the live cracking. Love and respect. Salute right back to you 3 times, man. All right. And power right back to you. You already know how it go. You know, we up in here, bro. We up in here. Rakufu said, man, Bub, tell a Grego story. That's my guy. Nope. Hey, oh man, me and Grego, man. And I gotta holler at bro, man, and rest well, man, to the wife, man, Grego. I haven't talked to Grego in like maybe a month. Let me be quite honest. Yeah, man. I man, Grego, man. And that's a G homie boy. Ooh wee. Grego, man. Love you, man, and you know, may you be doing well, man. May your health be up to par, man, and everything else, bro. All right. You know, real spit, man. I gotta let Grego tell the story, you know. I gotta let Grego. I try to get Grego on the thing, man, and Grego's like, man, he had some choice words about a lot of stuff, not the podcast, and I had to respect that. Honestly, I did. And after we had our talk about a lot of stuff, he said, man, when you want me to come on to get in? I'm like, damn, Greg, I didn't transition from that shit, homie. I ain't trying to, unless, we could get in, a conversation and when we can discuss what's good for the people and for the community, I don't want to talk about, no Hoover shit. You know what I mean? I just don't, and he respected that, But I did tell, hey man, well, I want to get some heads together and we want to talk about something. Can I call you? He's like, hell yeah. So I'll do anything for you, bub. You know that, man. Grego funny too. He got jokes, man. So you gotta let Grego tell the stories, man. You gotta let Grego tell the stories, man. He might be watching it. If he is, shout out, bro. Shout out to you, Grego. Love you, OG. Yeah, man. All right, Julia Strollinger. Okay, good to see you back up in here, bro. Say, Bub, I love that interview with Lil Jon from Nine Dudes. Yeah, man. That go both ways. Some did, some didn't. You can never satisfy everybody, but the fact that you said you like that interview, man, I appreciate it. I know Lil Jon does as well because he watches the show from time to time as well. I thought the show was good. You know what I mean? Even with T-Bird over there sitting in the cut not saying much, he just wanted to be seen, and that's the love one, man. Birdface, anytime, homie, anytime. Love you. Yeah, but I thought that was a good interview as well, I thought it was a good interview as well. Even when we kind of went back and forth on the inception or who originated, that, I kind of pinned him down. And I didn't, that's not my intent, but that it kind of looked like that, it was a back and forth, but that's the homeboy and a way back individual as well, and we used to hang down in the 90s, man. Again, but we had certain eras, man. We was everywhere. Everybody was everywhere, man. Everybody was everywhere, man. Shit. In the 80s, man, we was everywhere. Everywhere, Shoot, man. I remember being on coding in the 70s, everywhere. I had a cousin live right there. We used to live on 95th in Vermont, so I grew up over there anyway, also in the early 70s, you know what I mean? We did a lot of moving back in the day, y'all. Just keep 100. When we tell the story that we lived damn near on every street, that's the truth, especially in the 70s and 80s, from 70, I say from 74th, man, to 79th, and from 80th to shit up to like 83rd. We lived everywhere, lived on 95th, man, lived in the hundreds, 106. Yeah, everywhere, man. Shit. But anyway, yeah, man. Oh man, just been everywhere, man. Had cousins over there, coding, back in the day, especially when water was popping. Water was popping. I was, a little riff-raff, into that shit, man. A rascal running, I don't mean literally like the Trey Hoover rascals, but I was in the streets, man. I was in the streets, get my dirt bike, man, ride down, man, to Colden, you know what I mean? Hang out, man, shit. White boy Mike, You know what I mean? Dice and them hang out, do our thing, man. But also, man, I had a cousin live over there, and this, like I say, water was popping. I ended up down there. It's about like 77, 78. And I let my cousin's husband talk me into, helping him do a lick on some water. He knew what stash was, man. I'm like, all right, because I'm thinking, I can take that back to the set. I can get some money. I got caught. I got caught, and I mean, dude was trying to take me out. I'm like, oh shit. I don't know how I got away, and I ended up only getting away with one bottle of water, man, the baby bottle, but this dude was trying to, woo. But yeah, been all them down Hoover, man. Colden was one of our places, man. Again, we used to hang out with the Nine Deuces also, man. This is what it was back in the day, man. Yeah, that interview though with Lil Jon was the shit, man. And I appreciate the bro coming and hanging out with me like he did, as well as V, and Cartoon. Appreciate them, man. Participate, man, being a part of this process, man. So, man, always salute to them. And my hat off to them, man. Love and respect to all three. Yep. Folks said, man, if you got time left, I've been seeing how important having a union between us is. I feel bad for some of the people that I've been working around lately have their job situation altered, and these unions, are I rarely see blacks, but I rarely see blacks in, and these unions I rarely see blacks in. But I thought how good it would be to have a powerful union fight for black jobs. Shit, it'd be hard as hell to get a powerful union even in place. But I hear what you're saying. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Again, though, we were talking about this last week, a couple of weeks ago, man, in terms of employment, how we are being affected more than anyone else, man. And it seems to be happening or going on, taking place unnoticed. You know what I mean? That's sad, man, because it's not going to get any better. It's not going to get any better. It's only going to get worse. And I'll tell you why I say that, because we have the advent of AI beginning to take jobs that a lot of our people do, or a lot of people do. Let me just say it like that, so no one feels like they're being, excluded from this process of employment or unemployment, or who can lose a job and who can't. All right. But AI is in full effect. A lot of those jobs where it requires pushing buttons on a keyboard or whatever, man, those jobs, they're not in jeopardy. They will be eliminated in due time. And probably for the year out, a lot of them jobs are going to be lost to a lot of people, who do those type of jobs. Warehouse jobs, another field of employment that, you're going to see a lot of layoffs and people losing their jobs. You know what I mean? Shit like that, man. They just had, what's her name, man? Melania Trump's wife, just did this thing with an AI robot, and it's being predicted that these robots will be teaching in the classroom. So we had this conversation about a month ago on the Get Down. James Wakufu. We all were having this conversation, and I was saying, man, AI is in position to take the jobs that we think are secure. I mentioned education. I mentioned medicine. In the hospitals, they're already in the hospitals. Don't get me wrong, and in law, and they're already being used in law, but not at the degree or in at that level that I'm predicting they will be. And I said in schools, and then the conversation, the debate was, no, they won't be in schools. I'm saying, yeah, they will be, bro. They're gonna be in schools. And so they brought this robot out, Melania Trump, whoever she is. And the Trump said, the robot said it's a teacher. And so, the conversation after the fact, once the robot spoke to the audience, people just sitting there clapping and happy there. Like, man, y'all don't see this thing finna take jobs. It's finna remove the human aspect of teaching, of learning from the equation. And this is one of the best ways for human beings to learn, that human connection, that being able to sympathize or empathize, with a student who's not getting it, that type of thing. They just sitting there like they don't care about none of that. This robot is finna take jobs, right? So the robot leave, and the discussion is from the channel, the news channel or whatever was talking about it. They said just specifically, this is the future, and it will be this year that these jobs will start teaching in the school. These robots will start teaching in the schools. I had said this over a month ago when we had this conversation. They're going to be in universities. They're going to be in schools, period. But what we're missing when people say they want to debate it, what we're not looking at is how things are ran and how you can run things. It takes money to do. That's the way the system is. We're in capitalistic system. So it takes money to do everything we need to do, what we want to do, or just in order to live, it takes money, right? To teach, it takes money. Now, teachers are some of the lowest paid, people in position who have jobs, what I mean? And that's cold because, they're teaching the people how to prepare for the future to run the world, so to speak, or how to change it, right? They how they get paid is kind of embarrassing. It's insulting. But anyway, you deal with teachers, you have to deal with unions, things of this nature. You get rid of teachers, you get rid of unions, you get rid of just, hey man, having to pay, sick leave, vacations, all that goes out the window. The only thing missing, man, is when you bring robots or AI into the classroom is that human element. That's all. They're saying though that AI can teach better, except for there's that human element that's missing, that connection. Instead of a child coming in and the teacher seeing that child is hungry, didn't eat that morning, being able to recognize that, you know what I mean? Being able to tap into that, and saying, hey, come on, hold on, everybody, and take her out, to the cafeteria right quick, get, a muffin or something, you know what I mean? A robot can't do that, A robot can't see the trauma or abuse of a child or somebody, you know what I mean? That's what's going to be missing. But besides that, other than that, hey, man, they're going to put them robots in there. They don't care about nothing else. They don't care about nothing else because also, obviously, children don't go to school, man, to be independent of the system. They go to school to learn how to serve the system. That's it. It's just that simple. So they don't give a hoot, man. They need the robots to train these kids, man, to learn how to serve the system, be ready to go to work, train them to get ready to go to work for the system, for the rich. Not how to outdo the rich, not how to tear down the empire of the rich, you know what I mean? Not how to make everybody know, man. So they don't need human beings sitting up in classrooms feeding, planting seeds in the minds of these people, these youth, all these people, they don't want to run the risk of creating the next Messiah or the next one who can bring about this revolution that's very well needed in the world, but this country more than well. They don't need it. They don't need it. How they do away with that? Bring in robots, AI. That's exactly what they finna do. So, all right. I didn't say it long enough, man. My bad, y'all. All right, Poke. I got you though, man. Them unions, man, their lifespan is gonna be short too, bro. You know what I mean? And the reality is the reality is, man, jobs as we know them are gonna cease to exist. That's the facts, homie. Those are the facts. They got the upper hand. They've created a society to where they control it. They control everything that takes place in society, that happens in our lives, man. They control that shit to a great degree. They've been preparing for this, bro. This ain't no haphazard shit. This ain't just happened out of nowhere. They've been preparing for this. We're the only ones not ready for it, and that's messed up because we're going to be the ones who will suffer as a result of it. Those are facts, and in a minute, unemployment and shit like that shit's not gonna matter. It's not even gonna exist in a minute, man. They're gonna get rid of all that shit. Watch. They're gonna get rid of all that. I'm not smiling because I'm gloating, because I think I'm right. I'm gonna be right. No, man. Again, man, a lot of shit. Sometimes we gotta smile, man. You keep from frowning, man. We gotta laugh to keep from crying. Shit is happening right before our eyes, and we don't see it. We don't get it. We don't get it. Because I'm telling you, they got enough tricks in the trade to keep us distracted, keep us thinking there's hope. No hope, man. Hope. I was sitting in prison, man, and I would hope I would get out. I swear, man, I hoped to it. I hoped. Now I realized, man, I'm gonna get out, get off my ass, man. I got to put in the work. I got to bring this change that I'm hoping for into existence. So hope is some effort, you know. We got to put forth the effort, man. That's the only thing that's gonna bring, a possibility, even a probability to get change that's needed, man. We need to change the world, but that's not going to happen if we're just sitting there hoping on it. It's not going to happen if we see what's happening, but no one is acting towards, confronting these issues head on. Again, we were talking about this last week. No one's willing to make the sacrifices that's needed, that need to be made to change the direction that the world is going in. Nobody, and why? Because I think a lot of us already feel or think we're defeated, that those who have the power got too much power for us to change anything. And I'm telling you, that's the saddest part of the human condition, to give up. To give up, man. There's nothing sadder than that, man. And we see this shit. So we see, man, how blacks are left out of the workforce. And this is intentional. Those who do it, man, don't even realize their numbers is coming up. They're on the ass end of something, man, that's going to be, obsolete in a minute anyway, So, you imagine they're thinking, okay, let's get the rest of it while we can, and that's what's bad for us. That's what's bad for us. We don't see that we're being X'd out. We're being forced out of the workforce, The only way for a lot of us to make it, and we see this in the attitude and the mentality of our people, is through entertainment or sports or selling out. Call it what you want, man, but that's what it is. A lot of us, we make or take them steps to become entrepreneurs, our own business people, independent, of the workforce, where we work for ourselves, man. That's a struggle now. That is a struggle now. See, because now, you get these loans, man, and it's hard sometimes, if you can get the loan, the interest on the loans. You're paying these people no matter what. You're still working for someone else, though you say, this is my business. This is my business. I work for me and my family, but still, everything you make, in a lot of respects, off the top, go to somebody else. It don't all go to you. From the taxes to the loans, the interest on the loans, to everything. Your product, it don't come from you. The money that you need to spend to get that product go to somebody else. We don't even have, we're not even networking in such a way to where, if we're going to spend our money, we're spending with our people who, their money is being spent on them. It's not going to the tax man or to some, European government or something. You know what I mean? No matter how we look at it, man, we're in this game, and we're caught up in this system. We're in this matrix. Until we break the cycle, we break the matrix, man. Until we break the matrix, or the matrix is broken, this is where we'll be existing, inside the matrix, man. So it's sad to see that we got brothers and sisters. We got unions, brothers and sisters can't even get into. Unions don't even want us no more. We're too much of a problem. We're too outspoken. We want what we want, you know. We don't want to compromise. Da, 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 you know. Yeah, man. Real times, man. We in real times, y'all. And no unions getting behind. You know, it's always been a problem. Also, just historically, Poke. Historically speaking, it's always been a problem. Unions supporting blacks anyway. You know, always been a problem. Some, you know, shit, man. It was hard getting in unions, even up into the 1980s. It was hard being a part of a union. You know what I mean? Or being respected by the union, being represented by the union as one should be. You know, I don't know. Then a lot of unions were done away with that blacks were a part of. You know what I mean? Boom. Get rid of that union, you know? And blacks had no support, legal or otherwise. You know, but this game is rigged the way it's rigged for a reason, bro. I think our only saving grace would be for us to create something for us. Again, we don't think like that. We should. We should start thinking in terms of creating those things that will serve us first and nobody else. You know, yeah, you got to make them sacrifices though. And that's something we're not willing to do because, you know, in order to sacrifice, for a lot of us, we tend to think in order to sacrifice, it got to be some reward right then and there. Something got to present itself to us. In order for me to, no, what I'm going to get right now for my sacrifice. You know, that's part of our problem. That's part of our problem, bro. I got to say. But yeah, man, it's not a good look. Not a good look that unions don't fight. Yeah, where is it? Is there such a thing as a black union that support, but no matter what line of work you in? I don't know. You know, the black unions, I don't know. I've never heard of it. Not saying they don't exist. Just never heard of it. Black unions. Well, shit, man. That don't look good. Excuse me. I just had a thought with the removal of DEI and uh affirmative action, you know, those type of policies and programs. Trump's um Trump's policy to remove those, you know, those systems or policies, man, it also would affect, I think, black unions and stuff like that, you know. Especially like I said, excuse me, y'all, especially like I said, um since you know, what is DI and why it was removed to begin with, you know, by the Trump administration, you know. Unions probably won't get not a whole lot done, being that is the way of the world now in the United States. Diversity, equity, and the inclusion, affirmative action, all that shit being removed, man. You know, so I could see unions have, you know, black unions especially having a problem supporting, you know, black folk, you know, in the workplace. I just looked up black unions, and most of them go back that they talked about to the 60s and 70s, some back in 1930 something. But it was always a fight for people to respect the black union, you know, or whatever. I didn't see anything up to date about it, man. But hey, yeah, if there are black unions, man, and they exist, man, hopefully they're doing the work for the people, man, you know. But I still think that in due time, unions ain't gonna matter anyway, because you won't need a union unless it's for a robot manufacturer. You know what I mean? You know, just think about that. You know, those who manufacture robots, and then, you know, the maintenance people that's on, part of that union, how often they have to go in and make these repairs and what the conditions are like, the hours and shit like that. Those probably be the only people left in unions. But yeah, I don't know, man. James, man, said, hey, man, and the whole God thing bothers me a lot. If he/she exists and we are so-called his or her children, why are people born messed up? I'm talking born without the eyes or with one leg, 6 fingers, I don't know if yeah, that could be more of a biology, man, defective genes and shit like that. You know what I mean? Something somebody ate, man, the bloodlines, what I mean? Just so many different approaches to that one, bro. I don't know. All right, Lisa Moore. She says B1 is black first, everybody. Truth to power, man. James, you wouldn't finish. She does 6 fingers. People are born into this world with cancer diseases, even miscarriages. They don't even make it to the age of 1. This is what God allows. Shaking my head, man. I'm damn big homie, for real. Yeah, man. I think again, man, the whole concept in terms of how they've spin the narrative where this God is concerned, or the Most High, whoever, they look, man, they put shit on this, man, to twist it, make it look one way when it's not, when it's another, for instance, how they tell the story of Jesus being a white face. And I mean, we all know that's, come on, man, that's part of how they get out. That's not the truth. There's no depiction of what God is. You know what I mean? No one's seen, no one, you know what I mean? So that's just one example of how they get down. So when we talking about, man, why would God allow this? Why would God allow? See, somebody then told us something, man, that we didn't comprehend correctly, or they didn't comprehend correctly. Uh, we don't really know, man, in terms of, uh, that belief or that religion or that faith in God, how he's supposed to serve, what he's provided for us, and how we supposedly serve him in return. I don't know if all that is a part of it. I don't know. You know what I mean? I get what you're saying, that God's supposed to be this, malevolent God, this good God, take care of, his children, whatever. Hey, man, some people would say, well, that's the devil's work. That's the devil got in and took a leg and then made the baby born, and somebody cursed him. Hey, man, I don't get caught up in it, because that's hard for me to express or explain. I think that man and woman, we are in the image of God. You know what I mean? So I think it's more on us to understand birth defects, man, diseases and shit of that nature. There's something to that where man has caused that more than any God could have a hand in. You know what I mean? These are the doings of mankind, birth defects and stuff like that, again, cancers and diseases, this man, it could be what we eat, the chemicals in foods, you know what I mean? It could be the poisoning of the bloodline being poisoned. It could be so many other, issues or circumstances and concerns that make all this happen. It doesn't have to be at the footstep or put at the footstep of this so-called of this entity, this God, we don't, again, as human beings, we don't take a lot of the responsibilities we supposed to, upon ourselves. We don't hold ourselves accountable. We're always looking to blame or point fault or the reason for something not being right. It's somebody else, or something else, excuse me. So, that's just my take on it, bro. I can't speak to, um, why God would do this, why God would do that, da 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 da. Da. I had a conversation with a sister about God and then the teachings of the Bible. And my thing was, I said to her, how the hell, or why should I believe in a God that would allow me to be born into sin? Why should I have to confess that Jesus is Lord and accept him as my Lord and Savior to wash myself clean of sin? How am I born into sin? I had nothing to do with nothing, So yeah, I get what your argument is. It's based upon. I get that, because I'm the same way. Man, whoa. How is all this possible? If God is this God, then how the hell would he allow me to be born? How the hell am I born into sin? I didn't get it. So I get what you're saying. Again, though, this is where, the interpretations of stuff, man, all this stuff been talked about in terms of religion, faith, belief, and all. I think it's all over the place, man. No one really knows, man. No one really knows. So I refuse to allow myself get caught up in that stuff. I go on my energy, man, my energy, and I'm telling you, my energy, my soul, man, my essence lets me know when I'm right and wrong, bro. And that's what I work on. I know for a fact when I'm wrong, when I done something I hadn't been doing, or when I'm wrong, I'm being mean or evil, spiteful, stubborn, whatever. I know my soul, my essence tells me this, man, and I know when I'm right. I know I'm when I'm in the right light. I know when my energy is positive, man, and it's gonna, it does what it's supposed to do. I know this, man, because I'm living through it every day. You know what I mean? So, hey, man, I don't get caught up in that stuff. You shouldn't either. You should neither. Figure this out, man, and let a lot of this stuff, man, that we hear, just like water on the duck's back, man. Don't let it stick to you, man. Inexplainable, man. Then hey, man, don't worry about it. Nah. My take on it, bro. But I appreciate what you're saying, because I had the same issue. How the hell you gonna have me born into sin? I ain't had nothing to do with nothing. The hell, I'm gonna be held accountable. I get that. And I didn't benefit from nothing, I don't know. Poke says, salute to the kings and queens, man. There that is, man. James says, beautiful as life is, as we know it, it's always some BS to me in many different aspects, especially what's out of control, society, economics, energy, etc. There you go. Real spit. The unions are racist, Julius. That's the truth, man. Poke said, man, the war is affecting a lot of jobs. It's a lot of big companies that are supporting the war, and you wouldn't believe how these millionaires and billionaires are part of messing shit up. AI ain't got shit on that, bub. Trust me. Well, all right. I think it's perspective, Pope, in terms of these people you just mentioned, millionaires and billionaires. All of them are investing. All of them are investing. All of them are investing in AI technology, because all of them, these millionaires and billionaires, they save money by the use or the implication of AI into the workforce. They save money and make money. They're the ones who are pushing AI into the system. Again, you just, I don't know, it's perspective, man. It's perspective. Millionaires and billionaires, man, they're different types. You know what I mean? There are those billionaires who have billions, man, and they're, let's say, in the entertainment industry, sports. So they need those bodies, human beings, to run up and down the courts, run up and down the fields, hit them baseballs, skate across that ice, hit that tennis ball, back foot, whatever. That's where that money is. You know what I mean? Human beings, they need that. Other businesses that do other things in terms of business, man, that don't need humans, but humans do the job. Robots can come and do this job. And so what they do is they eliminate the human cost. Vacation, sick time, whatever, sick leave, everything, man, overtime. Billionaires understand this as an investment, as a business. They can get AI to run their business and X out the human, aspect of the business. What they do as a result of that, they save billions. They save billions. They get robots who they don't have to pay to do all the work, man. They save billions. They become richer. They don't have to worry about health insurance. They don't have to being sued. They don't have to worry about none of that anymore. I'm just saying, bro. You know, AI. I don't know, man. These same companies, man. I was tripping off. Iran has decided to take off from 18 American companies. All 18 of these companies are invested in AI technology, and they're in the Middle East. They have situations. They have what do they call it? Um, like data resource facilities where they collect data in these, Middle Eastern countries. They have, Iran said we bombing all that. And they started bombing them today. They started bombing them. Apple, Oracle, Planeteer. These are the people, man, who are investing in AI. They're not investing in human beings anymore, bro. They're investing in technology that can do the job of human beings. So they ain't got to worry about human beings. Amazon, all of them. Just saying. I'm just saying, bro. Yeah. 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 The war. You said the war is affecting a lot of jobs. It's a lot of big companies that are supporting the war. True that. True that. And most of them are in the energy sector. But they're finding a way to combine energy and technology, man. Bring them together. You know, there's some they man, look, in a minute, a lot of shit that human beings do, machines will do. Real simple. A lot of this shit, man. So yeah, a lot of these major corporations are invested in AI technology, and they don't give a flying flip about the human beings not having a job, man. They just don't. All right, that's real spit. Yeah, and that's what they're trying to kill, James. That people, they'll invest 30, 40 years in a company, and companies know this. So the companies, a lot of them hope that a lot of them probably die before, retirement comes. So they ain't got to keep paying them, after they retire. You know what I mean? Their pension and shit like that. Got to invest in that pension. Man, companies is tired of that's to them, that's a waste of money. They trying to do away with this shit, man. But James said it's sad that people dedicate themselves to companies and work 30 plus years and they're still regarded as expendable, disposable. Who knows how many times they even got a raise in that time period, if any. It's another thing. They'll raise you pennies on the dollar, man. You know? I don't know. Cash stack bucks. Uh DEI doesn't automatically hurt or help unions, it reshapes them, and the outcome depends on how well it's handled. All right, but that may be so, but DEI in any respect, as well as affirmative action, is out the door. You're right. I think maybe, yeah, DEI may not have anything to do with unions, maybe, as well as affirmative action, maybe. But I think there's some connection, as minute as it may be, or as not as out there as it could be, or it could be discussed. But I think that in some respect, um, if anything, affirmative action, you know, um, probably help blacks when it came to unions and shit like that, or union hiring or union representing, blacks as what, just as much as they did, whites or others. I don't know. But yeah, DI probably does not have a stake or have anything to do with unions. So I appreciate that, Cash Stacks Bucks. Appreciate you, man. Thank you for that bit of information. Yeah, unions came along as part of the industrial age, no doubt, man. Henry Ford and his assembly lines and shit like that. And then I found out he didn't even make assembly lines. It was somebody else. Or if anything, that's what he created, assembly lines. I got to research that one. Get my facts right on that. Thomas Al, Thomas, what to do, bro? Peace and blessings. You say, man, I'm invested in AI as well for my children's future. We have to play the game as it's laid out. The stock market is the fastest way to generate wealth. A lot of brethren are involved in the market. Yep. Late, but I'm in this thing. Amen. As always, pleasure to see you up in here, bro. Salutations, Bub, Queen Nzinga, and the entire RGC, man. That's right. Good to see you as well, bro. Good to see you as well. All right. Yeah, man. Again, though, so we're dealing with a system. Yeah, there's a lot about the system that could probably be beneficial if you got the right type of bread to get in, whatever, you know what I mean? But I think though the system is rigged in such a way and to where you're not going to get any real wealth from it unless you're in first on it first coming, let's say a product hits the dial and it goes public and you're in there, you knew about it before it went public, you got you got X amount of shares that's going to really matter, man. Yeah, that really will affect how the wealth of your family. Yeah, that's going to mean a lot. But if you're coming in there on the ass end, man, and you bought maybe 2 shares, 10 shares, maybe 20 shares, come on, man, I don't know. You'd have to have that stock for 20, 30 years. I get it, for it to even make a difference, or it just something, just really drastic that took place with that stock and either sold it off and got, a nice, penny for it, or, it grew in such a way, yeah, that, whoa, you winning, almost like that Bitcoin thing, you know what I mean? So people who understood what that investment was, who bought, let's say 100 Bitcoin, you know what I mean? A 200 Bitcoin, 10,000 Bitcoin. When it first, come on, man, right? One of them things. Or let's say, for instance, you got access to insider trading, some shit, and you're able to do some shit real quick, because the market is going to be affected. Sell or buy real quick, make a killing, boom. Pete Hegseth, the Department of Defense is being accused of that today. I just read that yesterday. They're accusing him of insider trading. But there's a lot of, ways to get the money. Yeah. And then again, yeah, if you can't beat them, join them. You know what I mean? That's also a mentality that, a lot of people have, our people as well. You know what I mean? I'm of the mind that, hey, man, tear the system down, man, rebuild it. Because as long as capitalism is the system, then, man, we're going to see suffering. We're going to see what we see, We're going to be subject to those who have all the money of determining how our lives should be lived, So, I'm actually against it, I understand, for those who are part of it, how they bought into it because, hey, man, this is what the system is, Again, I'm of the mind that, break it down, tear it down, and people can do that. That's a choice that people have, you can actually break the system by not even supporting it. You get the right amount of people. Again, our people, we, in terms of consuming, in terms of what we consume over 1 point. I'm gonna go do the math because it changes. It goes up every year. Over $1 trillion, man, in consumption. We consume that in products. Product consumption, blacks, not talking about nobody else in this country, every year. We pretty much, we helped the deficit of this country. In other words, we spend that much money that helps this country, man. Over $1 trillion. And that's just on goods, products and shit, and I'm just trying to convey it to people, man, to everybody, man. Just imagine if we decided not to, put our money back into the system and purchase these products to help these companies become richer and richer and richer. To help them to decide how we should live as human beings, to help these countries, write these laws that affect us and not them. That's all I'm trying to suggest, Again, we don't want to make those sacrifices. We've been conditioned in such a way to where, yeah, man, a lot of what we know we're supposed to do, we're not going to do because we're afraid of the consequences of making those moves. How will it affect our children, their future? For a lot of us, this is a for sure thing. So, if it's not broke, why fix it? You know what I mean? Why reinvent the wheel when you got one already and it's working? Might not like the way it goes, but it's working. I don't know, man. A lot to it. There's a lot to it, man. All right. That being said, man, I'm long overdue, and I've been got the text, man, and I got to go get me a product. This product, man, and it's not foolproof. They play out after a while. Then got to go, another $1,300. That's the system. That's the system. You're told, well, if you don't got that cell phone, you can't communicate with the world. You're shut out. Man.
It's true that being without a
See,
phone
look at
can
that.
feel like being completely disconnected
Look,
from everything today.
It
It's
just
a
came
primary
on.
link to
It just
friends,
started
work, and
talking.
information. So
There's some
losing
crazy
access
shit to
can
me,
feel-
man. Get the fuck out of here, man. All right, man. That being said, man, hey, peace and blessings to everybody, man. Hey, Al, good to see you up in here, bro. Peace and prosperity to you and yours, King. And I'm pretty sure your day, you've made it, man, to your satisfaction. You put that work in, man. You're pleased. I know. That should go for each and every one of us, all right? Take care of yourselves, man. Take care of yourselves, women. Kings and queens, do that for self first. And then, really, that's the only way you can, profess or be in a position to help someone else, because you know what it takes. Take care of yourself. You'll be able to do that with other people, man. Love yourself so that you can do that same exact thing with others, all right? That's to get down. Power is in the people, all right? Be one. Let's push this movement, man. Black first, all right? That being said, you are, you have been, and you will be under the groove, man. Black power. Take care of one another. Peace.
Count the names, count the bodies, count the victory. Cullen Hughes, Hurst, and writing future history. From the Apollo to the borough to the sphere. Where the echo of those Harlem nights still ringing clear. So when they ask what happened in those tenement flats, between the spirituals and where consciousness is at, tell them we transform suffering to scholarship and song. Tell them we've been telling you we're brilliant all along. The Renaissance will prologue every decade since the sequel. Every black child born's continuation of the people who survived the Middle Passage, survived the Jim Crow laws, and built magnificence from nothing but their vision and their flaws. That's in the sergeant. This is once a less than had this and Mercedes. Please don't you, I can't stop us. Power sensitive, watch the applause for polls. Need your data, talks and counsel any problem when the wet just wanna build the season bait. Now don't get the pause. It's just the raising up the cons. Plead the markets off the main. Make it honor fans. Turn the neck and love the durn. Suffer like the kesha. You won't run the preaching up. I'm sorry, see chillun, but on the shit and untrue seeing vets. Someone the very it's on Gary Land. Be hell in heaven, you see what the bonafide. If we're talking for the marker, make the key to pull the club and saw the boards to the single land is carried up and slowly keep us looking on my mother, break it, generous, he more than he and let the peasant be. It's every time we keep a spawn.